Hello, welcome back. I am the Boogeyman. Do you want to hear a story? Well, I bring you tales from the Boogey world. I bring you tales to help send you off to sleep. Come, sleep. Let me help you. Before I tell you a tale, I will guide you through a short meditation to relax your body and prepare you for a night of dreams or nightmares. Would you like that? Good. Make sure you finish off any other tasks before we begin. Use the bathroom, drink a glass of water, check under your bed. Make sure there is no other reason to leave your comfort before we enter absolute comfort. You may pause this podcast here and resume when you're back. Are you ready? Lay down, sweet friend. Lay on your bed, on your floor. No harsh textures around you. Only soft, only gentle. Let's breathe together. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. Close your eyes for me. Push away the tension in your eyebrows. You can use both your hands or just the one, but be gentle with yourself. Release that tension. No need to frown now. Let the calm wash over your face. Unclench your jaw. Rest your eyelids and your tongue. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. Roll your shoulders all the way back. Allow yourself to melt deep into your mattress. And as you release your shoulders into your bed, exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let go of the tension in your body, in your shoulders, in your neck, your hips, your legs, toes, fingers. Surrender your body to sleep. Come, join me in the Boogey world. Let me tell you a tale. A sad tale about a lost love, progressively lost soul, and enticing demons that take advantage. This story is called Love, Illecabra, and Deception. This story starts with the heartbreak of a woman named Karina. The love of her life, George, was now dead. They'd met through friends during their second year at university at a house party that neither of them wanted to be at. And 6 years later, having never spent a day apart since, they were married. So in love to know each other completely and understand each other completely. One summer, they had begun to practice lucid dreaming. It took several months, but it began to work. They would start their nights with deeply connected communication Nothing was ever left off the table. They were entirely honest with each other. Even if it felt a little bit harsh, they would hone in on a place and the people and the energies, the smells, the textures, the tastes. And then they would meet each other in the boogie world. The boogie world is vast and infinite. Some may call this place the dream realm, the further, the upside down. I prefer the boogie world. Traveling together, they were able to keep each other safe. Humans are not always safe in the boogie world, not whilst their human body is left vulnerable in the human realm. Demons and dark spirits may take advantage. Not all, but some. George was in a very unfortunate accident. Karina did not see it coming. In fact, none of George's loved ones did. And he was very loved. And he had a lot of love to share, especially with Karina. But there was something dark following him that he did not share. Not even with Karina. When he died, he left a hole in Karina's heart. She stopped moving through life. Nothing anyone could say could heal her. She became quiet and isolated, no longer connected to her friends or her family. She was alone. Eating and showering and living seemed to be wasted waits of time. She even stopped sleeping for a while, and when she did sleep, she did not dream. Exhaustion would take her over. When the funeral came, she had to face the people and the world again. She had to face her goodbye. But she did not feel like this could be it. George was no longer in his body and she could feel it. Coming home and taking her shoes off and her hair out of its ponytail, she collapses onto the couch, overwhelmed and exhausted. She picks up an old dream diary on the low shelf of her coffee table. The last entry from the last dream travel with George. They wrote it together. This helped their travels stay connected. She read a line from the entry towards the end.
We love it here. The strawberries are so fresh and big and juicy and sweet. The bushes grow so far beyond our sights. We run and we laugh. We must return as soon as possible.
Karina sat up. As soon as possible. Maybe it's a little bit delusional, but what if George is waiting for her there? That's where he would be. His soul would be waiting for hers. She smoked something floaty, lit a candle, and guided herself. The same way that they would guide each other, but alone now. She set the rules according to that last dream in the diary, and she floated her way there. Knowingly asleep, tapped in and in control. She stood in the impossibly tall strawberry field. She called for George, and when she began to cry into her palms, she heard a familiar voice.
Hello, love. I'm so glad you're here.
George!
She screamed and ran into his arms. He held her so tight.
I'm so sorry, George.
She cried.
You must have been waiting here for so long. I didn't know.
Don't cry, love. I'm here. And you're here too.
He handed her a strawberry. She took a bite, and he leaned in to take a bite too. A strawberry kiss. She laughed. She didn't think she'd ever have a strawberry kiss with her love again. Overwhelmed, he calmed her down and took her on an adventure. This was like no other adventure they'd had before. He was making new rules up, ignoring the rules completely. They weren't visiting places that they had agreed on. He was taking her to new places, places she'd never even thought of before. The everybody's favorite song disco, Cloud 9 and the cotton candy roller coaster. Great grass maze that you never get lost in but are always lost in. When she'd wake, she'd write it all down in a new diary. She'd make note of where he wanted her to meet him next, how long she slept for, all the senses and the memories made. How long she slept for increased rapidly. That first night was 8 hours, the second was 10, the third was 13, and then 18, and then 20, and then 24. Awake for 3, and then asleep. George, or so she thought, did not say very much. He seemed different somehow. But Karina was so happy to be with him again that she did not mind, and chalked up his changes to being in a new stage of his existence. She could not control him, and that's how she knew that he was real. And he was real. But he was not George. It would take some time before she figured that out for herself. After she'd been asleep for 2 days straight, he took her to a surprise location. Every location had been a surprise, but this time he said,
Do you trust me?
and she said, of course. He covered her eyes with a blindfold and took her into a new space, he said.
Do I have your consent?
She said yes.
Do you give me your permission?
My permission? Wait, for what?
Do you give me your enthusiastic permission to enter?
She hesitated for a second and thought of how this must be a new intimate experience for them both. Having missed his touch so much, she smiled and said,
Yes. Yes, of course, my love.
And then he said nothing. He did not say anything. He did not touch her. She called out for him, and he did not speak. And after waiting a while, she announced that she was taking off her blindfold, expecting to see him in a seductive pose sprawled across a surface. Instead, she found herself locked in a cage on the edge of an impossible cliff. She would not fall, but she could see the abyss below. She screamed for George to come back, and then she mourned again because she knew deep down that was never George. That was never George. In truth, if you'd like to know the secret, his name was Illecabra. But she would never know that. If she did, maybe she could have summoned him back. When the Illecabra reached her body, he screamed in pain as he made contact with the human realm. He dropped his mask before he climbed in. His mask, George's face, like glass on the floor. He was wearing Karina now. This wasn't his ideal body. He wanted George, but George was dead. So Karina was the next suitable option. Karina's friends never saw her again. Illecabra took her body, now claimed as his own. Collecting her passport and her purse, he walked 3 hours to the airport before traveling somewhere new. He was getting to understand how the human world worked. Humans were very different out there, and he did not like it as much as he thought he would. Human bodies deteriorate so very quickly, so much maintenance. He began to get so hungry and so exhausted in her body. He was eating rats and squirrels, and he'd snatch food from other people's plates as he walked through the cities. He did not feel very powerful here. He was missing his freedom. Illecabra, Illecabra, always wants what he doesn't have. Ruining Karina's body as he went, walking in worn out socks, hair matted, dirt all over. So cold and tired and ripped through and bleeding. He sits down on a bench in a park. Why does it feel like this to be alive? Illecabra tries to remember if he was ever human. He cannot recall. The sun goes down and he sits still. He decides to give in to sleep. The body is desperate for it. He lays on the bench and closes Karina's eyes. Minutes go by and he feels something on his leg. A hand. Eyes open now, he sees a sloppy and drunken man. He's wearing a suit. And he's calling him darling and asking for sugar. He does not get off when Illecabra, in Karina's body, demands it. Illecabra does not give a second chance and rips out his heart. There it is. The power he was so craving. He felt it, taking that man's life. Unfortunately for him, CCTV had caught what he had done, and he did not know to have to evade the authorities, and was arrested in the morning when he'd been found sleeping on the bench near the dead body. Heart wet in his hand. Karina's body was now in prison, in solitary for his strange and concerning behaviors, and her soul was in a cage in the Boogey world. The Illecabra very quickly grew tired of being in prison. He realized he wouldn't be out for a very long time. He'd ruined his new freedom and power. Now, it was a hard decision, considering how much work it took to get here, but he had decided to go back and to leave Karina's body. He went back. No masks this time. Skipping and singing and free to play tricks amongst the Boogey world. He remembered Karina's soul. He went to her and she was still crying, face in her hands. He didn't want to talk to her because, well, he knew she'd be very upset. He didn't feel very bad for her, but he felt just bad enough to give her the chance to return to her body. So he unlocked her cage and he left, crying into her palms. She heard the creak of the gate. She looked up and saw her chance. She ran and she ran and she ran, and then she woke up. Yes, in prison. Oh, Karina, what horrid cards you have been dealt. So violated and traumatized and confused. She slept only once more before her body gave out. She'd been gone far too long and her body was not well. It's not all so bad. I feel very certain that Karina and George are together now. Forever and always. I'm very sorry that this story is a dark one, but it is an honest one. So, dear friend, be wary if you seek to lucid dream. Trust only yourself, and do not give permission to anyone who asks for it. Explicitly deny them. Unless you're willing, of course. And if you know the consequences. Thank you for listening to this tale. It's an honest story from a friend of mine in the Boogey world. I hope it will help you to better understand us. This podcast is brought to you by the Boogey World Podcast Production Network and is sponsored by peptoabysmal.co.uk, the pink and baggy 90s 2000s nostalgia t-shirt brand. Visit linktr.ee/theboogeyworld for all things Boogey World, including links to the website, other podcasts, events, and more. All links will be included in the description. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, follow, and share. I hope you're resting now. I look forward to sharing this time with you again. Goodbye for now, sweet friend. Sleep well. Dream a dream.